This video is brought to you by Anti-Gravity Lithium-Ion Batteries, used by Monster Energy Star Racing Yamaha and Monster Energy Kawasaki and many more teams. And you can use the same battery as Eli Tomac, Jason Anderson, and others. Anti-Gravity batteries offer more power and capacity than the competitors because they give you a larger lithium battery pack. But additionally, they offer features like the world's first batteries with built-in jump starting that will never leave you stranded. So check them out at antigravitybatteries.com.
Hey guys and gals, what's up? I am Kris Keefer and we are here at Glen Helen Raceway to ride that's right, let's kick it, Suzuki RM-Z450 of the one and only Twisted T HEP Suzuki team. I got Jamie Ellis to my right here. He is the man behind the engine. He's the man behind a lot of engines, but nonetheless, the RM-Z450 is alive and well. For those of you guys that are making fun of the bike, do not, because this machine right here of Marshal Weltin's has been top 10 in outdoor nationals. If you can get a top 10 in 2022 outdoor series, you are doing something right. So Marshall's a great rider. He's like the journeyman of our time right now. He goes and races all different kinds of races. He's not scared. He will ride whatever, but the HEP team saw that. They took him under their wing, and he produced some of his best results. Actually, his best results of his professional career on this bike right here. So I'm going to go ride it, see what it's all about. I've ridden Suzukis a long, long time. I've been a fan. One of the best Suzukis I've ever ridden was a 2012 RM-Z450 of Mike Ellis. I still remember that bike. It was a great bike. So Jamie, I'm going to give you the mic here. Rip down exactly what you do to the engine and what you provide for the HEP Twisted T Suzuki team.
So on the HEP Suzuki here, we are doing, handling, designing the power plant, modifying the transmissions, camshafts, cylinder head porting. We actually have a really cool CNC port spec where we do a bunch of welding to get the material where we want it and then port a bunch of other stuff out of it. The ECU platform, we're working with all aspects of it. And, after all the bikes we build, this bike, is kind of special in my heart because the RM-Z450 is where I kind of got my shot at engine building. So we built this same kind of engine platform for quite some time now. And we were just getting ready for World Supercross, so I had the bike back in the shop, and we're changing some ECU stuff because you use FIM spec fuel. And just seeing how beautiful the dyno curve is kind of what sparked my interest to say, hey, Kris, what do you think about riding this thing? Let's go out and ride it. So today is just about obviously seeing how it goes for a different rider. We've done testing with the boys and a bunch of other stuff there. So now we're going to give, Pops over here a chance to go out and ride this thing and let us know what he thinks. And I use him for a lot of stuff because he's such in tune with everything that he's got going on that it gives me some direction. And I love a good task, and I'm always hungry to change and, try to make better. So I'm looking forward to see what happens today out here at Glen Helen Raceway.
All right, I'm going to go ride this beautiful machine. I pulled up today just real quick, and I looked at it. For me, there's nothing sexier than yellow and blue mixed together. This bike looks really attractive. It's one of the best. When we talk about on a Pulp MX show, he's like, what's one of the better looking machines? It's always, for me, the Twisted T Suzukis and the factory Hondas. Those two bikes right there, to me, are the best looking bikes. But I'm going to go see how this thing runs, compare it to some other bikes that I have ridden lately, and give that information back to you guys. So stay tuned. Watch my old butt on the number 285 at GH for a little bit, and we'll be back to talk about it. All right, so I want to admit something really quick. So I'm usually pretty good as a test rider to clear my mind and go in with an open mind and just kind of start fresh. But as you guys know, the Suzuki has had some bad rap over the few years just because it hasn't changed. And I think some of that is unwarranted. So some of that has leaked into my brain, of course, and I'm a pretty transparent person. So when I went out to Glen Helen today and first few laps, I wasn't expecting much. I was expecting to maybe talk to you guys about the engine and was going to be pretty vanilla. But honestly, I had a great time on this bike. I've been riding a few different other race bikes, race engines lately. And I would say this is one of my favorite engines that I have tried in the past 8 to 12 months. The reasons why. When you start this engine, it's very free. So if you guys can sit there at home and say, hey, what does free feeling mean? So when you're revving your throttle, it's how quick those RPMs go up and then come down. Sometimes you have an engine that goes up really quick, but it's heavy as it comes down. This is really free up as well as down. So right when I pulled on the track, it has a very exciting feel. I told Jamie that I would like to have maybe just a little bit less throttle response as I roll my corners because it is a little bit touchy. But then immediately after that, it is a long linear climb, and I can shift really early on this bike. I'm a big third gear guy. I always call that the magic gear when I ride, especially here at Glen Helen where it's flowy. I can leave it in third gear in corners, a little bit of fan of this clutch right here, and it's right back up in the RPMs, and then I have to shift to fourth because it'll pull that gear really quickly. So overall, this is a very healthy engine, and from what I've been told, this has been detuned a little bit since its first stages. Twisted Development gave the guys a lot of horsepower, and then it's up to the guys to decide where they want that horsepower or to detune it a little bit. So from what I was told, that the riders wanted a little bit of a more friendlier engine. And of course, I'm older. I'm not as fast as those guys. It has been detuned a little bit more for me today. So what does that mean for you RM Army guys? So very controllable engine, yet exciting. It makes the bike feel light because when you put it on the stand, you notice how heavy it is. You're like, oh man, there's a lot of weight here. But when you ride it, it feels really light. With the Showa A-Kit suspension, I thought it was going to be too stiff. Honestly, the fork is amazing. I can dive into some of these bumps. Hopefully we have some slow-mo on that. I can really charge into those first few bumps, and the bike stays pretty flat. I love that. I do think the rear end's a little bit high for me, a little bit stiff. I would soften the low speed up for me a little bit. But, of course, Marshall is way faster than me. He's more aggressive. He's in better shape, and he can hammer those bumps harder than I can. So for me, as I get tired, I would like to have a little bit of a softer rear end feel. But for just hopping on a bike, man, it's really an eye-opener for me because I've rode our stock RM-Zs for a long time. Then you get on this, and it sure doesn't feel like a yellow bike. I do notice a little bit of vibration. So for me, coming from a Yamaha and even a KTM, I do notice a little bit more vibration through my foot pegs and the handlebars. It could be just these handlebars and the triple clamps, but nonetheless, I do feel that. Another point that I really enjoy is the front end steering capability of this machine. You would think it's going to be a little bit twitchy. It's pretty rough here today. Well, fairly stable for a rigid style chassis, but yet, man, I can really cut down when the berms are blown out here, and trust me, at Glen Helen, they get blown out really quick. So cutting down from blown out berms is easy to do. And then also what complements that is the engine character. So if I want to cut down really quick, a little throttle right here, it'll get me down and get me down with some rear wheel traction that I think this bike was lacking in stock form. With the stock engine, I feel a little bit of disconnection from the throttle to the rear wheel. What Jamie has done here with this engine gives me a lot of traction, a lot of front end feel, and trust me, you guys at home thinking, how does the engine make a bike corner better? But I have done a lot of these tests, and when you have a little bit of a broader, faster engine, it actually makes the bike feel more planted and more connected because you're actually getting that rear wheel connection that you need. But overall, hopping on this thing, it's one of the better race bikes that I have ridden. Usually when I ride someone else's machine, it just doesn't feel right to me. This actually feels like it was set up for me just with a little bit of a rear end high feel. So enjoyable for me to ride. You can always tell if I like a motorcycle because when I go shoot and I do these tests, sometimes I'll get through the test and I'll just be done and I'll tell you guys about it. But there's some extracurricular time on this bike after we talk about here. I'm going to go out and ride just because I really enjoy this bike. So good job to Twisted Development, the HEP Suzuki Twisted T team. One of the better looking bikes in the paddock and very fun to ride.